Unfortunately, society right now is anti-male. It's, Gillette did the commercial about toxic masculinity, and so many people are anti-male. And
oh my God! Every time I post "man up," I get flamed. Imagine what you get.
Yeah, exactly. So you could just imagine. And look, rightfully so, right? You got Harvey Weinstein and you got Bill Cosby, those filthy fucking assholes. Welcome to another episode of The Empire Show. My name is Bedros Keuilian with my co-host, Craig Ballantyne. And this is a show that helps you build an empire, helps you develop personally and professionally to the highest level. Today, we're going to talk about men, specifically who are entrepreneurs, married, and have kids, and have found themselves in a place of depression and white-knuckling through life and wondering how they've fucked themselves and looking to unfuck themselves. Let's go.
Yes, this is going to be about this thing that you call the project. Now, before we get to the project, I want to talk to you about kind of a disturbance I see in all the direct messages I get through Instagram. And people, I describe it, I use this analogy of the donkey story. Not the Tijuana donkey story, but the donkey story that goes like this. And this is a story that my father told me when I was a young man. And I don't know if it's true or not, but we grew up on the farm, and he said, "Little Craigie, do you know what happens when you put a donkey between two bowls of water?" And I go, I have no idea. I'm not even sure why we're talking about this, Dad. He goes, listen, the donkey in between two bowls of water, it's paralyzed. It doesn't know which way to go. It can't make the decision. And every single day, I get all these direct messages from entrepreneurs of all ages, all genders, and all situations. And they're asking me, well, should I do this or should I do that? Or I've been thinking about doing this, and they're paralyzed and stuck. And that's why I love this whole idea of the project so much. And this whole project kind of came from your own growth, right?
It did actually. So those of you who have read Man Up, as you know, Craig, in 2010, you were kind of the inspiration for the project when you really think about it.
I'm like a Canadian Navy SEAL.
You are a Canadian Navy SEAL.
We're sea otters, the Navy sea otters.
And in 2010, you were chastising one of our, with love, but you were chastising one of our mastermind coaching clients, and you were saying, cut your deadlines in half, cut them in half again. And I remember having told Diana that one day I want to run a marathon with you, because she's a marathon runner.
That was like your wedding promise.
It was like, hey, if you marry me, I'll run a marathon with you, right? Okay. And because I always said, hey, I'm designed to lift weights, and I'm all about lifting weights, et cetera. And when we do that, we put ourselves in a box, right? And so, of course, at that point, 9 years had gone by, dude, and I had not run a single marathon with her, and she was running 3 marathons a year.
Wow.
Yeah, so that said, as I heard you telling this guy, cut your deadlines in half, cut them in half again, work with urgency, I got so inspired and gassed up, I texted her under the table as you were going off, and I was like, hey, when's your next marathon? She goes, in 6 weeks. I said, great, sign me up for it. She goes, okay. And if you remember, across the room in that mastermind was one of our clients, Jill Brewer, runwithjill.com. Yeah, she was a running coach. And so I was like, hey, Jill, you got to coach me on this thing. And she goes, well, you should not do a full marathon. There's no way you can do it in 6 weeks. I said, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to figure out who I am. I'm basically going to step up and slap the dragon and see what I'm made of. Right? Because I've never run long distance before, and in 6 weeks, I'll run 26.2 miles.
And let me start with my first training session wearing Converse.
Yeah. In fact, when she wrote me a running program, the first day was a run or a walk jog for 1 mile. And the next day, my hips and knees were hurting. And I called her. Yeah. And I called her and I said, hey, what gives? She goes, well, are your shoes old? And I go, no, they're brand new Converse. And she goes, you're an idiot.
Yeah, you're running in Chucks.
I'm running in Chuck Taylors. So all this to say that since then, I went through, a surf challenge, a rock climbing challenge, recently finished a jiu-jitsu challenge, things that scare me, put me out of my comfort zone, things that I'm not naturally good at, I throw myself into now, because every time I do, I see what I'm made of, I see what my tolerance level is, I learn new things about myself, my personality, my emotional resilience, mental toughness, physical strength.
And it helps you on airplanes when people go crazy. Yes. And the MMA training allowed you to choke the guy out and give him the plastic handcuffs.
That's right. We true story, guys. We were flying back from Maui, my family and I, and some dude was a flight risk, and he went nuts. And I had just finished the MMA training with Aaron Weatherspoon. At the time, he was the welterweight king of the cage champion. And I put him in a rear naked chokehold, choked the motherfucker out, and then we were able to zip tie him with the plastic handcuffs, and LAPD took him away when we landed. But all this to say that you can be a hero and challenge yourself.
Right, exactly.
But truly, as people started reading my book, Man Up, everyone's asking, like, man, you got to put together some kind of thing for us to be able to break ourselves down mentally, physically, emotionally, just like you did with these challenges over those 5 years, so that we can learn about ourselves and we can rise emotionally and become better leaders and decision makers, better communicators, husbands, fathers, entrepreneurs. And I was like, dudes, I don't know how, so stop reaching out to me about that. But every day I'd get 5 or 6 DMs still. And so while I kept saying I don't know how month after month, in the meantime, all of a sudden I meet the SWAT sniper. And then I meet the Navy SEAL, and then I meet the Marine. Yeah. And I realize the universe is putting all the right people in front of me to help me break down these men who have, like me, fucked themselves into stress, anxiety, overwhelm, confusion, poor communication, messed up relationship. Maybe.
And I think it's important. Like you led off saying, "Hey, listen, this is really going to resonate with men who are married, couple of kids, business owners."
Yeah.
I guess we'll talk about that in a second. Once you talk about the first project and how and why you spoke to that group, but certainly having, it's kind of like that A team on your side that you put together this project on. So.
Yeah. So there's 5 of us actually. Like I said, the Marine, the Navy SEAL, the SWAT sniper. And then, of course, Aaron, who's got a background in MMA training and entrepreneurship, and myself. Yeah. So over 75 hours, we take these guys through a physical, mental, emotional breakdown, and of course, a lot of classroom time. And we have to suspend disbelief and fatigue you to the point where we can tap into the trauma that people have experienced. Like, no one has gone through life without experiencing some level of trauma. That trauma ends up putting filters on your eyes and ears, and you see the world in a twisted, fucked up way, and you end up actually making decisions and taking action based on the trauma that you had as a kid or as a teenager. And so what we do, the exercise we put them through, which is all desk written stuff, is called the Seek and Destroy. We seek out the traumatic events in your life. We figure out what false belief systems, toxic cognitions they've given you, and then we reverse engineer to make those your superpowers. Like, I was molested by 2 older boys when I was a kid between the ages of 4 and 5. That trauma had made me angry, shameful, confused, but now I've been able to reframe it as it's also made me compassionate and empathetic towards people, because I know what suffering is like. And so that's one of the biggest things that I'm able to connect with people on, is at a very empathetic, compassionate level. And so that's become my superpower. So that's what we help these guys with. We help them unfuck themselves in 75 hours, and they become what we call modern day knights, which we need more of. Absolutely amazing. And it's very interesting. So this is, you've done one, and I was speaking to a couple guys who had gone through it at our Empire Summit on the weekend. Yeah. One of them, Big Matt, I was talking to him, and he had this really great story about when he was in the airport after, okay? So first of all, he goes, After the couple of days, some of the things I was thinking, why are we doing this? Man, it was tough. And he's 50 years old, and he was worried he couldn't keep up with things. And then he said he was walking through the airport on the way home, and he said he just felt like he wasn't like anybody else. Right. And he was walking through, and he goes, and my penis was 6 inches longer than usual. He's walking through like he had this, he's all jacked up. But he goes, the way that he described the mental breakthroughs was, he said it was like if you've ever been away from your phone and turned it off for a long time, and you turn it on and all the things start showing up. For over the 75 hours, he was like, I don't know why we're doing this. I don't know why we're doing this. And as he was recovering on the way home and on the airplane, he goes, all of a sudden, all those things started downloading. I got, oh, I see why we did that. 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 And it really connected with him. And I absolutely loved how it's like you don't leave there like you're a totally different person right away, but you're definitely a different person. Yeah. And then over time, this strength and resilience that you built up over that weekend or whatever, 75 hours really starts to come through, right? That's exactly it. And what we found with all 10 graduates, now 12 men started that first class 001, and at the end of 75 hours, only 10 graduated. 2 of them rang the bell and left. And let's talk more about that. Well, over the 75 hours, where did the first guy break down? How many hours in? Why did he about 29 hours in, he broke down simply because he was unable to deal with. So some of the things we do is we give you failure drills drills that are designed for you guys to work as a team, but designed to fail. But you don't know what's designed to fail and succeed. So when you fail, do you quickly start blaming others? Do you take responsibility? When we say, hey, whose fault was it as instructors? Do you band as a team, or do you start pointing fingers? And very quickly, one of these guys was starting to point fingers, was starting to blame others, not realizing that this exercise was designed to fail, to create conflict amongst the men. Because for far too long, these men have never really communicated their feelings, their thoughts. They've never given feedback to their employees, never really felt like they had the right to communicate to their wives and kids, etc. And so what do men do? We put it deep inside, we suppress things, we put it in a box, and we ship it away. And so to create an environment that's a controlled environment for men to communicate and give feedback, direct, brutal, honest feedback, and this guy wasn't able to take that. And it wasn't a physical thing, like he was just couldn't go any longer. He was emotionally weak and beat up and walked up and rang the bell.
He was not encouraged to ring the bell?
No. He was not.
It was his?
Yeah, it was his decision. The second guy.
Would you say that he just needs some time and he'll probably be able to come back and like?
Absolutely. Yeah. Anyone can go through it. It wasn't a physical limitation. It was a mental limitation. Because when you're tired and slightly hungry and fatigued, we set the odds in the favor of you trying to quit, but my job is to be the papa bear.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question here that I know a lot of our listeners are thinking, especially our female listeners are thinking, and you're like, why just men?
Or, simple.
Why just men?
Simple. Unlike women, we are a bit reclusive. We don't necessarily go out as a group and openly talk about our fears and frustrations and emotions and thoughts and feelings. Men don't do that. Women are really good at doing that.
Yeah.
For men, the way we tend to learn or communicate is by breaking ourselves down to see what we're made of.
Through a lot of team sports.
Team sports, yeah. I mean, every guy who works out knows this for a fact, and women who work out know this for a fact. When you're in the gym pushing your body against a lot of weights or cardio or resistance or challenging yourself, you learn a lot about, do I stop at rep number 8 or can I eke out 3 more repetitions? Do I do 26 sets or did I say I'm going to do 26 sets but walk out at 25? And what did that say about me? Like, these are the things that begin to challenge you and mold you. And so men need that environment. Women organically are able to create it. Men need it. Also, as instructors, I can't relate to women and their feelings and emotions, et cetera. And so it wouldn't be fair of me, because women do ask, like, hey, can I join the project? Absolutely not, because it's an environment for men to be able to feel safe and open up and communicate, learn. It gets very brutal. They see sides of themselves they've never met. They see sides of me, because a lot of these guys are like coaching. Some of them are coaching clients. Some are people that are about products. They follow me on social media, and they see a side of me they've never met. And they see a side of me that they've never met because this is a side that needs to come out to pull them out of their shit, right? And so it's an ugly but very beautiful experience, because for all 10 guys, and all the instructors saw the exact moment when the light switch flipped, and they no longer were looking at the bell to quit. They were like, I fucking got this, and I know what's going on.
Second guy who quit, what happened there?
Second guy who quit, he was probably about maybe 10, 12 hours away from graduation. Yeah, 10, 12 hours away. I can't really tell you what the evolution was, because obviously when people go through it, part of this whole project is you can't talk about the project. People go like, Fight Club? Yeah, like Fight Club, but it's not for any other reason. If you know what's coming, then you won't have the same experience.
Yeah.
But we set up an experience that would create confrontation again, and you weren't supposed to, and you were supposed to tell a story. I mean, this became an elaborate thing. Like, we used pretty much like about 30 miles of Chino Hills for this thing. Not only our compound, BK Strength, but also 30 miles of Chino Hills. And in that time, this guy didn't stick to the story that him and his boat crew or their team had planned. And when they got back to the compound, his team confronted him, and he felt like a loser, and he walked up and rang the bell. What he should have done was, guys, I broke. I didn't hold the team as a priority. I held myself as a priority, because solo, you'll never go as far as you can as a team. And hey, guys, I'll make it right the next time. And that's it. And he should have just stuck. Yeah. But instead, he gave up and rang the bell.
That's amazing. And so this weekend at the Empire Summit, I pulled aside Ray Kashkar, one of your Navy SEAL in the group.
Yeah.
And, because I'm real curious about this whole Hell Week and everything, and I had read David Goggins' book and really enjoyed it, and, he had gone through Hell Week 3 times, and so I said to Ray, who only went through it once, and I said, Ray, what was the moment where you maybe had some doubts, or what was the hardest moment of it? And he said he never had doubts of quitting. He never believed he was going to quit. But the hardest moment of his Hell Week was on day 3. They were doing something called Steel Pier. And I'm like, what the heck is Steel Pier, man? And he goes, you're laid pretty much naked on a steel platform, a steel pier, 3 o'clock in the morning or something like that. And your skin is sticking to it. That's how cold it is. And eventually you get up out of that thing, and then they ask you to do something so menial like tie your shoes, and you can't even tie your shoes. And he just, that was the hardest thing. But then once he got through that, he knew he was going to go all the way. I mean, that was fascinating story.
And a situation like that, I've read a lot of those Navy SEAL books. Like the Steel Pier evolution is literally lay down, get wet, jump into the cold water, come back around, try and tie your shoes, or do something menial, lay down again, get wet, jump in the ocean again. And they don't know when it ends. Yeah. And it becomes psychological warfare, especially when in their case, they go a whole week with no sleep or virtually no sleep.
Yeah.
In our case, it's 75 hours with in 75 hours, they get about 6.5 hours of sleep. And so, again, that's designed to fatigue you to another level. And when you don't know when an evolution ends, are you just going to walk away from your team? Are you going to communicate? Are you going to give in to the inner bitch or kill the inner bitch and build the inner beast? And those are the things we talk about. And as you said, just like Big Matt Aspute told you, you don't just all of a sudden go like, hey, I understand life.
Yeah.
In the next 2 weeks, literally things start clicking, because in 2 weeks, within that 2 week period, you get put in a situation where you have to be decisive, and you're like, shit, this is gonna be an easy decision based on what I just experienced.
Got it.
Or you have to problem solve, and you go, this is gonna be an easy thing to problem solve based on what I just experienced. Because all of a sudden your thermostat for problem solving, decision making, communication has gone up because you've had to problem solve under the most horrific situations that we put them under. And we assign leadership to people. One guy, his leadership went away literally in 1 minute and 42 seconds. He got the leadership watch, because there's only one timekeeper in the whole group. He got the leadership watch, he fucked it up. Within 1 minute and 42, it went away. He got another chance, 40 some odd hours in, and he was able to keep that leadership position. So look how quickly he evolved. So what took me 5 years to go through all these challenges and evolve, and find my voice and my communication ability, decision making, et cetera, problem solving, these guys do it in 75 hours, and it's just game changing.
So this is a slightly different question. You guys had to design this.
Yeah.
5 of you guys. This is the first run through. I remember the first time I built a Perfect Life workshop, which is an hour-long day, and I was like, I don't know if this can take 16 hours, it can take 3 hours, and fortunately it took exactly 8 hours that day I did the workshop. What about you guys? Like, did this thing run like 99%, or do you have to change some things without revealing too much?
Yeah, we only had to change one evolution to meet time, but all 5 of us instructors went through this thing 3 times ourselves. We put ourselves through it. Yeah.
Wow.
So if we're going to put you in a position where, let's just say, there might be a black hood over your head, and your arms might be zip tied behind your back.
Much better than a white hood over your head.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't want the white hood. That means you're down south and bad things are about to happen. Yeah. But everything we did, I can't go into the details, but every instructor has gone through every piece of it, and we timed it all to make sure that it was going to be happening in the 75 hours.
Yeah, because there's a lot of margin for error there. Okay, so wrapping it up, what are the big benefits that a man is going to? Oh, actually, we didn't mention why men with kids, and it goes back to the 2 people that dropped out. You said we're both single, no kids, and not married or something like that.
Yeah,
you
one
found
was
the
single.
10 guys who did.
Yeah. Of the 2 who dropped out, one was single, about to get married, and one was married, no kids.
Got it.
And if you're a male, have kids, and are married, look at it, and you're an entrepreneur, look at what you got to balance.
Yeah.
Business, kids, the guilt that my kids are growing up and I'm not there. I've got that. I don't remember certain parts of Andrew's life. He was my oldest because I was so in a fight or flight state trying to grow the business.
Yeah.
And we didn't even take enough pictures of him because both me and my wife were just in it, right? And so there's still guilt that I carry about that.
Yeah.
And so if you're trying to balance out life, family, kids, a wife, date night, so the wife doesn't feel like the business is the other woman, right? This is what happens. Or you're with your family, but your brain is distracted and it's in your business. And all because you don't know how to prioritize, you don't know how to organize, you don't know how to structure your life. This is what this project is for the men who have so much on their plate but don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And this gives them the big breakthroughs to deal with it. But
do you think that the single guy and the guy who doesn't have kids is too selfish to finish?
Yeah. They've never had to wake up at 2 a.m. with their child throwing up with a fever and then having diarrhea out
That's
the other
why they
end.
quit.
Yeah, because every other dad has. Like, you know, you lay down for 8 hours of sleep and then you're up all night cleaning up throw up and diarrhea and holding a baby who stinks, and you're just like, this is what I'm meant to do.
Yep.
And whereas a single guy is like, oh, this is uncomfortable. I had to wake up. I'm done.
All right, so the big benefits, you know, we've talked about a lot of what Matt left with and how it downloaded to him and how you make decisions better. Anything else that men listening who need this, who need to get unstuck, need to understand about these 3 days?
Yeah, unfortunately, society right now is anti-male. It's, you know, Gillette did the commercial about toxic masculinity, and so many people are anti-male. And look, there's
oh my God! Every time I post "man up," I get flamed. Imagine what you get.
Yeah. Exactly. So you could just imagine, and look, rightfully so, right? You got Harvey Weinstein and you got Bill Cosby, those filthy fucking assholes, doing really bad things. But that kind of is a very broad stroke with the paintbrush of, well, it's because they're toxic men. The reality is, it is also these men who are aggressive, who go to war, go to battle, take the battle to the enemy. This is why we're so safe in the states that we live in. But all that said, I think men are in a place right now where they don't know their identity so well. They don't know how to be aggressive, but in a modern day night kind of way. Dude, I'm a pretty aggressive guy. I love how Jocko Willink says default aggressive. Like Jocko Willink's whole thing is like have your default set to aggressive. That doesn't mean go and rape someone. Go and be a freaking asshole to a woman.
Never hurt someone.
Right? Never hurt someone. So the modern day knight opens doors, protects those who can't protect themselves, stands up for what's right, has a solid ethos. And so these guys walk away with the 9-sentence creed for the modern day knight. It's called the Modern Day Knight Project. For short, we call it the project.
Yeah, mdkproject.com.
mdkproject.com. And so they walk away with a 9-sentence creed.
That they create, or it's everybody's?
It's what I created for myself that I give to them, and I go, hey, just live by this until you can create your own. And so far, all 10, and including the instructors, just love that. In fact, two of the wives were at Empire Business Summit this past weekend, and they both pulled me aside and said, hey, my husband told me the creed, and I started crying.
Wow.
Because it literally starts off with, I'm a man of my word. When I make a promise, I keep it.
Got it.
Right? And then the last sentence is, I have tremendous attention to detail, I have high standards of expectations, and I'm driven to dominate life. And so now you have to live by that code and that creed every single day, and we teach them how to do that. And this is what men were lacking for so long. All
right, so the next one is November 6, 7, 8.
Yes, November 6, 7, 8 in beautiful sunny California.
Yes, absolutely. That's probably where they all will be.
Yes.
All right. And so mdkproject.com or send you a direct message or whatever it is so that you get on this. Now, for those of us that can't participate, women who can't participate, people who can't make it, what can people do in the meantime? How can they challenge themselves to up-level their game in every area of life?
Dude, that's a great question, man. What they need to do is they need to understand that there's certain people like yourself, like myself, like Andy Frisella, Ed Milet, Jocko Willink, who have written books, have channels and platforms. Tony Robbins, right?
Right.
So start ingesting and applying that content, whether it's in the book format, a one-minute snippet, or a 40-minute video on YouTube. Like, do something to be an active participant in the leveling up of yourself. You don't have to necessarily go, well, I need to go do the project or else. The project will get it done in 75 hours, the way we administer it. But until then, you can be an active participant in the success of yourself.
Yeah, and here's an example. So I read David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me, and I'm like, listen, I've done my running for life. If I went and did ultra marathons, it would mess me up in a way that wouldn't be beneficial to me.
Yeah.
So I thought, what's really hard that I absolutely would not want to enjoy that takes something away from me? And I decided that every first of every month, I fast on the first. I do not eat anything. All I do is drink water. And so that starts about 8 p.m. the night before on the 31st. It ends about 7 or 8 a.m. on the 2nd, so it's really about a 32 or 34-hour fast, which is a lot for some people. For other people, they do a little bit more. But I mean, I don't enjoy it, but I'm committed to it. I've done it in social settings, at big group dinners where I've just had to sit there and watch people eat, and I think one of the things that you talked about building confidence, about the making promises to yourself and sticking to them when nobody else around you is what builds confidence. And I tell myself in the witching hours between 2 and 4 in the afternoon of that 24-hour fast, that's the hardest part for me. I find like it's just, I haven't been able to enjoy any food or my little rituals that go with the food. And that part is the hardest. I'm a little bit tired because there's no caffeine that day either. But I'm doing it for the similar reasons of what you guys do the project for. So everybody listening, look for something. We didn't talk about one six-week challenge, though. That was one of your hardest.
Which one was that?
The drinking beer every day.
Yeah.
6 weeks of drinking beer. Most people think that'd be so easy, but
everybody tells me
disliked it.
Yeah, because I'm not a beer drinker. I'll take a good cocktail, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to learn to drink beer, and I'm going to be able to identify different types of beers, ales, pilsners, etc. And so, some days I would have one beer. Some days I would have. As the weeks went on, I was actually seeing the addiction kick in.
Right, and the tolerance.
Yeah, and the tolerance, right? So it's like, hey, I don't feel that buzz from one beer anymore that took off the edge. Let me just have another. And truth be told, week number 5 and 6 of my 6-week challenge of drinking beer every day, it was actually every night after work. I realized, man, I'm drinking 3, 4, 5 beers.
Wow.
And then there was random nights where I'd go to bed and my wife would wake me up and she goes, hey man, it's almost midnight, you didn't drink your beer. And I'd run down, crack open a can, just chug a lug, go upstairs, brush my teeth and go to bed.
One of my favorites was I had to take my fish oil pills with a beer one night because you were late on your fish oil pills and your beer.
Yeah, because I told myself if I miss a day of drinking beer, the 6 weeks starts over again. Oh. And yeah, dude, that one I actually gained about 14 pounds in 6 weeks.
Come on.
Yeah, because then as here's what happens, right?
Is that the beer and pretzel roll challenge?
Well, it was the beer and bowls of almond because as the willpower goes down, once you drink a little bit, bowls of almonds tend to find their way into my pie hole.
There you go. Well, just such a powerful episode. I thought this was going to be a short one, but this one is going to hit a lot of people in the heart because it's very, very important. So mdkproject.com, Modern Day Night, November 6th, 7th, and 8th, right before you come and speak the next day at the perfectliferetreat.com, which is my big event in November in San Diego. So for everybody, we talked about the Empire Summit a lot on this show, and the Empire Summit is unfortunately over. It was absolutely amazing. I've had so many people there who have been to a lot of events, said it was the best event they've ever been to. We had Tom Bilyeu, we had Billie Jean, we had Shanda Sumter, we had you, Sharon, myself, all great speakers, plus our hot seats and round tables at night, plus the workouts with Ray in the morning. It was absolutely amazing. Now, if you couldn't make that one, we have another one coming up that you're speaking at, Jason Capital is speaking at, Sharon Sarazza is speaking at. It's the perfectliferetreat.com, November 8th and 9th in San Diego. We would love to see you there. And we have hot seats and round tables on the evening of the 8th where you get to ask mentors in many areas your questions. All right, so get down there or get to mdkproject.com and level up. Man or woman, time to level up.